Let's explore the advanced features of PowerMetrics goals, including how to create goals for any segmentation or periodicity, how to use a custom or calculated metric as your goal, and advanced ways to display your goals. If you haven't already watched part 1 of this guide on PowerMetrics goals, you can find that video on our YouTube channel. Let's get started. In this example, I have a metric that tracks my profit margin for my e-commerce business. I want to create a target range for this metric so that I can visualize if my business is operating within that profit margin across all my segments or time periods. To set this up, we'll create a range goal, and we'll set that between 65 and 70%. We'll set a custom color indicating when that range has been hit. Now, for my periodicity option, I'll select any, and the same goes for my segment by. This is different from the goals we created in our last video, in that the goal will now display across any breakdown, whether that be hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly, and the goal will also display across any segmentation. This is appropriate for a calculation or a ratio metric like profit margin, since that ratio can be applicable regardless of how the metric is segmented or displayed. I'll title this and save. Now that the goal is created, we can display it on our metric in various ways. For example, product over month, country over quarter, or channel over week. In each case, the goal appears due to those any periodicity and any segmentation settings, allowing you to have a goal that's consistent across various types of visualizations. Next, let's create another goal, this time using another metric as the goal, so we can track our metrics against a more dynamic target. Here, I have a metric tracking my return rate. I want to target a 10% month-over-month decrease in returns and view my progress on this visualization. First, I'll need to create a metric that represents this goal, that 10% decrease in this return rate metric compared to the previous period. To do this, I'll create a new calculated metric and use my return percentage metric. Now I can just multiply this by 0.9. Setting this as a percentage, we can now see that this shows that 10% decrease that I'm looking for, but I still need to shift this data to represent the previous period. To do this, I'll click the return rate metric again, and in the data tab, select date offset previous period. This offsets the metric data to the previous period. So when the date is displayed over a month, for example, it will show me 90% of the previous month's return rate for each month. So let's title this and save it. Now we'll go back to my return rate metric. Let's create the goal. We'll create a monthly periodicity threshold segmented by any available segmentation, where we're indicated if our return rate is below our metric, and I'll select that returns goal metric that we just created. We'll set a color when we are below that threshold, and you can see so far this year we haven't been able to hit that returns goal. Either way, we'll title this and save it. And now we can see it appear on our visualization. I'll also create a goal that tracks if the return rate is over our target, and I'll display that in red if that's the case, to add conditional formatting to this display. Okay, now we have multiple dynamic goals that can help us understand if our return rate is decreasing at the level we're targeting. As a final touch, we can convert this dotted line used to show this goal to a bullet chart style and highlight the delta between the metric and our target value by personalizing the visualization and under goal options selecting bullet chart style and highlight delta. Now we can see that for this year, we're over our expected return rate and need to do a better job at reducing returns in our e-commerce site. These advanced goal features allow you to create complex visualizations that track dynamic targets across a variety of different use cases.